Man, what? You know what I'm saying? The story of Lil Durk. Shout out to Hip Hop Daily. You know what I'm saying? Without further ado, we ain't gonna really talk too much. We're gonna get straight into the video.
Lil Durk is one of the biggest rappers in the world,
That's a
but it
fact.
didn't all happen overnight. He had a wild come up in Chicago, and some say he's the reason the big war in the city got so violent. Durk had to grind for over a decade before hitting the mainstream, and today we're breaking down the crazy story of how he went from a street
To be honest, I fuck with Durk, but I still feel like he corny nowadays because he just be saying like anything in his rap. Like he just be saying like anything. It don't even be making sense anymore. He just be saying anything to me. Like the old Durk better.
Savage to linking up with superstars like Drake and Kanye. Let's get right into it. Lil Durk came up on the south side of Chicago in an area called Inglewood. A lot of kids in the city grow up without their dads around, but Durk's situation was a lot crazier than most. When he was 7 months old, his dad was sentenced to life in prison for allegedly running a huge crack operation. Big Durk was locked in with Larry Hoover, the legendary Chicago gang leader who created the Gangster Disciples all the way back in 1965. Big Durk was running the streets and had a lot of people working for him. And back in the day, he was cool with the BDs too. The BDs and GDs had been locked in a deadly war for years. And when Big Durk was moving heavyweight back in the day, the two crews wasn't even beefing. According to Big Durk, the war started in his hood after some BD leaders thought they should have more territory. Big Durk was running the game, and his family should have been taken care of. But then, the whole thing came crashing down. Big Durk and 3 of his top affiliates got hit with life sentences after Big Durk's cousin, Tasha Woods, testified against him. And when the cops raided Big Durk's storage unit, they found $1 million cash and 10 bricks of cocaine. Even though Lil Durk's dad was locked up before he even really knew him, they kept a good relationship over the years and talked on the phone almost every day. Big Durk didn't want his kids to end up like him and try to keep him out of the streets. But sometimes, it's not that simple when you come up in a place like Chicago.
And
Lil
when you
Durk's mom had to take care of him and all of his siblings, and back then, they were just struggling to survive. Durk says they were so broke that some days they didn't even have food to eat. Durk knew he had to step up and help the family, so he hopped off the porch at just 10 years old and started hustling. Durk had dreams of making it out of the streets through basketball, but eventually, he realized it wasn't going to work and he had to switch up his plans. He started dropping tracks in 2010 and created his OTF crew, but it wasn't until he caught a gun charge in 2011 that he decided to take music seriously. He was sentenced to 3 months in jail for the weapon case and got out on bond, but then he was sent back for another 87 days. While he was locked up, Durk's first child was born, and he realized that he had to switch up how he moved. Durk knew how growing up without his dad made everything harder, and he didn't want his own son to have the same experience. In the interview, he said, "What really broke it down was I had my son while I was locked up, so that really affected me. That really put the toll on me like, oh yeah, I gotta change." When Durk got back out, he had 2 options: go hard with the music or get even deeper in the streets. He was a broke high school dropout living with his mom and had a newborn son. And Durk said he was not eating, getting locked up, no focus, no guidance. But instead of going down the same path his dad and most people in the area did, Durk hopped in the booth and got to work. He dropped the track Sneak Dissin' and I'm a Hitter, which picked up some buzz in the city. And that's when Durk knew he could make it in the game. He used MySpace to build up an audience and dropped his debut mixtape in 2011. Durk followed it up with 2 more projects, then in December 2012, he dropped the track that changed everything. The GDs and BDs were already beefing at this point, but L's anthem took the disrespect to a new level, and a lot of people think it led to the brutal wave of violence that's still going on today. On the track, Durk said, "You don't f with me, then f them. My own niggas, I don't trust them. Brick Squad, I say Woogle World with them, so f them." Lil Jojo from Brick Squad clapped back with the track 300K, BDK, and called out Durk and the rest of the BDs. He said, "Durk say f Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze his 40, now they got him on a stretcher." Lil Jojo was tragically murdered after the track drop, which really set off the war between the BDs and GDs. But even though it might have caused more young dudes to lose their life in the streets, L's anthem helped Lil Durk level up and get his name in the spotlight. He followed it up with the hit "This Ain't What You Want," which led to him signing a deal with Def Jam Records in 2013. It was the biggest moment of his career, but Durk didn't have long to celebrate. He had been trying to leave the streets behind, but just a couple days after signing with Def Jam, he got booked on another weapon charge. The cops rolled up on him in Chicago, and Durk allegedly tossed a pistol into his car. Durk got hit with a charge for unlawful use of a weapon by a felon and was held on a 100K bond. By this point, his homie Chief Keef was already one of the hottest new rappers in the game after blowing up with the track Don't Like and linking up with Kanye West. Everyone thought he'd step in and bail Durk out, but Keef didn't pay the bond. Keef leaving Durk behind caused a split that would last a few years, but Durk kept it pushing and stayed focused on his own career. He got back out just a month later and dropped his mixtape Signed to the Streets in October 2013. 2014 was an even bigger year for him.
And that was the best time of Durk. Like I don't want to make it seem like I hate Durk in any way, shape, fashion, or form. I just like the old Durk better because it's like it feel like nowadays he just be saying anything in his song. Back then, that was golden Dirk. Like a lot of people love Dirk now. I know of Dirk now, but nah, I think that was just golden like version of Dirk. Bang Bros and all that, 0 to 300 and all that. It was golden version of
He
him.
was named on a double XL freshman class, dropped his Signs to the Streets 2 project,
I
and got
remember
into a
that.
high-profile beef with Tyga in the game. Tyga and Durk have been going back and forth on social media. Then Tyga recruited Game for the track Chirac to LA. Game took a shot at Durk on the track and said, I don't f
Oh
with
yeah,
no
you can't forget 52 bars too.
new niggas. They like to sue. No woo. Tyga hit me like, Durk dissing. Durk Nowitzki? Durk who? Never heard of these. Game is a legend in the industry, but Durk proved he wasn't backing down from anyone. Durk ran into Game at a club in LA and pressed him about the beef. A video of the situation shows their crew squaring up like they was gonna throw down, but both sides left the scene without it popping off. The day after Durk pressed him, Game let everyone know on Twitter that it was squashed. They took a couple more shots at each other in interviews on social media, but it never turned into real beef. By 2015, Durk had been grinding long enough in the industry that he had some major buzz on his name, and fans were waiting for him to drop his debut album, Remember My Name. It was supposed to drop on May 12th, but then it got pushed back to June 2nd. The album debuted at number 14 on the Billboard 200 chart, which wasn't as high as a lot of fans expected, but Durk kept grinding and dropped another project just a few months later. In 2016, Durk dropped his second album on Def Jam, but it only hit number 29 on the Billboard 200. It wasn't bad enough to be called a flop, but fans knew that Durk wasn't getting the shine he deserved. That same year, OTF took a hit after Tay 600 was accused of working with the cops against Rondo No. 9, C-Day, and D-Rose 600 in their murder trials. Tay denied snitching, but he still got kicked out of OTF and started beefing with Durk. They sent disses back and forth for a
He was
while,
OT.
but by that point, Durk
He was OTF. He always claimed 600. That's what I knew. He always claimed 600. But let me know what y'all think. Y'all think Take 600 really snitched? Like, I don't know how true that is. And then they said he had something to do with Ide being killed, which is crazy to me.
was way too big for the drama to affect his career. In 2017, he proved he was still hungry and wanted to reach the top of the rap game. He dropped 4 projects that year, including 2 collab tapes with Lil Reese and T Grizzly. 2018 was another crazy year for him. Durk dropped his 12th mixtape and announced that he had left Def Jam Records. That same year, he started putting a bigger focus on pushing OTF, and the crew dropped 2 collab tapes. Durk and OTF got even more shine when King Von joined the group and popped off with the track Crazy Story. Von and Durk linking up in the rap game was a huge win for both of them. They was both running up numbers like crazy, and the whole OTF wave was taking over the industry. 2019 was a massive year for Durk and Von, and in 2020, Durk finally broke out into the mainstream. Durk's 5th album peaked at number 2 on the Billboard 200 chart, and then he blew up even more after Drake featured him on the track Laugh Now, Cry Later. Durk was finally getting the attention he deserved, but then tragedy struck when King Von was shot and killed later that year. Durk has lost a lot of people over the years to violence. In 2013, his homie L.A. Capone was murdered outside of a studio. In 2014, his cousin OTF Newski was also killed. A year later, his manager Chino Dollar was murdered after leaving a meeting about anti-violence initiatives. Von's death had a major impact on Durk. They were real close and were also fighting an attempted murder charge together. Back in 2019, they were both booked for allegedly robbing and shooting a dude in Atlanta. But Von died before the case went to trial, and Durk's charges were dropped back in October. King Von was killed by Quando Rondo's homie Lil Tim, and the situation caused a tense beef between Durk and NBA YoungBoy that's still going on today. 2021 was another wild and tragic year for Durk. He dropped another OTF tape and a collab project with Lil Baby. But then, his brother D-Thang was murdered outside of a nightclub in Chicago. Just a few months after D-Thang died, Durk and his girlfriend almost got taken out when some dudes broke into their house. They got into a shootout with the robbers, but luckily Durk and his girl both made it out of the situation alive. Lil Durk has had a wild career full of crazy highs and tragic lows, but he fought through all the struggles and became one of the biggest rappers in the industry. A lot of rappers give up if they don't start popping out the gate, but Durk put in the hard work and stayed on his grind for over a decade. Now it's all paying off, and he's running up bigger numbers with everything he drops.
I definitely give Durk respect for staying on his shit. Let me know what y'all feel about Durk and what's your favorite Durk song. With that being said, I appreciate y'all for all the love and support. Make sure y'all have a safe and great weekend. Make sure y'all run the likes up on all the videos. Get a chance to binge watch when you can. And love is love, like I said. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.